The faint glow of the afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of the Duke's office, casting intricate patterns across the polished oak desk. A soft breeze rustled the silken drapes, bringing with it the gentle scent of blooming lilacs from the gardens below. Everything appeared serene within the grand chamber that housed the Duke of Ashford, yet an undercurrent of tension was palpable, vibrating in the air. It was a sanctuary of wealth and status, but on this day, that tranquility was shattered. With a sudden burst, Lady Isadora Pelham burst into the room, her breath coming in hurried gasps. The sound of her heart pounding echoed in her ears, drowning out the usual quiet dignity of the Duke's surroundings. She was a vision of disarray, a young woman whose once neatly arranged hair had come loose, framing her pale face, now flushed with fear. A glimmer of desperation ignited her emerald eyes, rendering her both striking and vulnerable. "Please, you must help me," she implored, her voice trembling as she closed the door behind her, the sharp click of the latch echoing in the silence. In her frantic state, she was oblivious to the man sitting behind the desk, Duke Edward Tyndale, a man known for his unyielding composure and formidable presence. The Duke, taken aback by the sudden intrusion, raised an eyebrow, momentarily captivated by the whirlwind of emotions reflected in her eyes. "Lady Isadora?" he inquired, his tone laced with surprise. "What brings you here in such a state?" She took a step closer, the desperation in her posture speaking louder than her words. "My father, he seeks to bind me to a life I cannot endure." Her voice was soft, but it carried the weight of her struggle. "I cannot marry Lord Harrington. I will not." Isadora's heart felt heavy at the mere mention of the man her father had chosen for her. A man she had met only twice, and each time her skin had crawled with distaste. Lord Harrington was a man of prestige, certainly, but he embodied everything that she despised: control, arrogance, and the cold indifference that came with privilege. The idea of spending her life alongside such a man was suffocating. "Well, you must understand, my dear," the Duke began, folding his hands atop his desk. "Your father only wishes what is best for you, as fathers do." A scoff escaped her lips, surprising even herself. "Best for whom, Your Grace? His own ambitions or my happiness? My father cares little for either. He sees me only as a bargaining chip, a means to secure his position. He does not care that I have dreams beyond the constraints of this estate." In her fervor, the young woman approached the desk, resting her hands against its surface as if it were her only support against an encroaching tide. The Duke studied her, recognizing the fierce spirit of a woman who had refused to be tamed by societal expectations. Here was a creature of fire amidst a world of ice, a juxtaposition that intrigued him greatly. "My father was once a man of ambition, but that ambition has eclipsed all else. I long for freedom, Your Grace, to explore the world beyond these walls, to make my own choices." Her voice broke slightly, unveiling the vulnerability beneath her bravado. "I cannot stand being subjected to his will any longer." A moment of silence hung in the air, heavy with unspoken understanding. The Duke's gaze softened as he regarded Isadora. He could see the flicker of rebellion within her, a reflection of the constrained desires he himself had felt in his youth, an echo of his own past. "It is a noble thought, Lady Isadora, to wish for freedom," he admitted, his voice steady. "But what do you intend to do? Running away without a plan will only lead to a more perilous fate than you currently face." Her voice faltered as she realized the truth in his words. A wave of uncertainty washed over her, and in that moment she felt small and lost. "I do not know. I just cannot remain here any longer." As her shoulders slumped in defeat, the Duke felt an unfamiliar tug at his heart, a desire to protect her, to guide her away from the storm brewing in her life. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "there's a way to help you." a means of negotiating with your father without resorting to reckless actions. Isadora's eyes widened with hope, ignited by the flicker of possibility. What do you mean? I can speak to him, he replied thoughtfully, to reach an agreement that serves both your father's ambitions and your desires. We shall forge a new path. Her heart raced at the prospect. Would the Duke truly assist her? There was an undeniable spark of something in his gaze, a connection forged not merely through words, but through a shared understanding of entrapment and desire for liberation. Will you? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, laced with a mix of hope and fear. Yes, he nodded, the corners of his mouth turning up as he leaned forward. But know this, Lady Isadora. Freedom comes with its own burdens. Are you prepared to face the consequences? She inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of his words. Nothing in life came without price. She understood that now. Yet the thought of losing herself to a life dictated by her father felt like a far greater tragedy. I am, she declared, surprising even herself with the conviction that surged within her. At that moment, the Duke and Isadora stood upon the precipice of an alliance, one that would not only test her resolve, but would unravel the very fabric of their lives as they ventured into a world yet unseen. And as the echoes of their fateful meeting lingered in the air, both were blissfully unaware of the intricate paths their lives would take, paths destined to intertwine, with all the complexities and challenges that awaited them. Before we continue with Lady Isadora's extraordinary journey, or captivated by her desire for freedom, please hit that like button and subscribe to follow her tale. Now let's see what unfolds next. As the weight of uncertainty settled over Isadora, she felt a flicker of vulnerability creep into the air between them. In contrast to her earlier fervor, the Duke's presence now loomed larger, a beacon of strength wrapped in mystery. The silence stretched, thick and expectant, until he finally spoke again, his voice softer, more contemplative. Would it not be prudent to consider your next steps, my lady? You cannot flee without a destination, nor can you act purely from the heart, he advised gently, his gaze unwavering. The way he looked at her, as if he truly saw her spirit, ignited a spark of determination within her. You speak as though I have a choice, Your Grace. Every moment spent under my father's roof feels like a noose tightening around my neck. You do not understand. Anguish threaded through her words, but the Duke remained unfazed, his expression betraying no judgment. I understand more than you think, Lady Isadora. I too was once bound by the expectations of those who believed they knew what was best for me. His confession hung in the air, a raw glimpse into the soul of a man who had long since learned to wear his armor. Isadora felt her heart quicken. You with your title and power? She questioned, skepticism lacing her tone. What could you possibly know of my plight? A fleeting shadow crossed the Duke's face, revealing a flicker of pain before he masked it with composure. More than I would prefer to admit. My own father sought to dictate my future, to forge alliances that would elevate our family's status. I too dreamed of a life unshackled from the weight of expectation. He paused, allowing her to absorb his words before continuing. But you possess a strength I admired. Most women in your position would accept their fate without question. The compliment ignited a cautious hope within her. You think me strong? She echoed, her voice softening. Yes, I do, he affirmed, leaning forward slightly. It takes courage to admit one's desires, especially when they oppose the will of those we are meant to trust. For the first time, Isadora saw a glimmer of understanding in his eyes, a reflection of her own turmoil. Perhaps he was not simply a man of privilege, but also one who had tasted the bitterness of familial obligations. What would you have me do, Your Grace? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. His gaze shifted away momentarily, as if wrestling with a decision. I can offer you sanctuary here for a time. My estate is vast, and you may find refuge within its walls while you devise a plan." Isadora's breath caught in her throat. The idea of staying here, within the very domain of the Duke, filled her with both excitement and apprehension. And what would that entail? Would I be a prisoner in your mansion? Not a prisoner, but a guest. You would have freedom to roam, to explore. But you must also be cautious. Your father will not take your departure lightly. He could seek to bring you back, and I assure you, he would not hesitate to employ force if necessary. A shiver ran down her spine at the thought of her father's wrath, but the alternatives felt stifling. "And what of your reputation, Your Grace? Would it not be scandalous to harbor a runaway?" He chuckled softly, a sound that held both warmth and cynicism. "Scandal is but a word, Lady Isadora. In our world, it is often the price we pay for the life we desire. I assure you, my reputation could withstand a little turbulence." For a moment, she contemplated his offer, weighing the implications against her desperate need for freedom. "If I stay, it would be to find a way to escape my father's grasp entirely, perhaps even to seek my own path, on my own terms." The Duke nodded, his expression grave but encouraging. "Then we have an understanding, but I must warn you, the road ahead will not be easy. The expectations of society will weigh heavily upon you, and your father will not relent easily." "I am prepared for anything, Your Grace," she declared, a newfound resolve gripping her heart. "I refuse to be a pawn in his game any longer." "Then let us begin," he replied, rising from his chair. "We must establish a plan and ensure you are not followed. The first step is to ensure your father believes you remain on the estate, or at least out of his immediate reach." As he moved around the desk, Isadora felt a thrill run through her. The Duke's proximity ignited an unexpected warmth within her, a spark that whispered of possibilities yet to come. "What can I do to help?" she inquired, her spirit ignited by hope. "First, we must talk to my housekeeper, Miss Bellamy. She is one of the few I trust implicitly. Her network extends far beyond the estate, and she may offer insights we need." "Very well," Isadora agreed, her heart racing with anticipation. "But if we are to do this, we must do it quickly." With a nod, he gestured for her to follow him. As they walked side by side, an unspoken bond began to form between them. Each step echoed with the promise of a journey that lay ahead, both perilous and exhilarating. Though were each bound by the weight of their respective worlds, a flicker of understanding ignited between them. In that moment, amidst the shadows of obligation and expectation, Lady Isadora Pelham and Duke Edward Tyndale embarked on a path that would weave their fates together in ways neither could foresee. As they exited the office, Isadora felt a rush of adrenaline and fear. Could this truly be the beginning of her liberation? Or were they merely stepping into a more treacherous game? The answers lay hidden, waiting to be discovered in the unfolding chapters of her life. The journey of Lady Isadora is just beginning. If you find her quest for freedom inspiring, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more captivating tales. Now, let's see where this adventure leads. As Isadora stood before the Duke, the weight of her father's ambitions pressed heavily upon her heart. She took a deep breath, summoning the courage to reveal the depths of her despair. "You must understand, Your Grace," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "My father has promised my hand to Lord Wainwright, a man I scarcely know. His wealth is undeniable, but his character is lacking, to say the least." She felt a swell of emotion as she spoke, the words spilling from her lips like water from a shattered vessel. The Duke leaned forward, a look of concern etching across his features. "And you believe this union is inevitable?" His voice was calm, yet the intensity of his gaze ignited something within her, a flicker of hope that perhaps he could assist her in breaking free from her shackles. "Not just inevitable, but a matter of honor for my family, a means to restore our fortunes after my father's recent losses," she confessed, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But what of my happiness? What of my choice?" Her desperation hung in the air. palpable and raw. The Duke's expression hardened for a fleeting moment, as if recalling his own battles against societal pressures. You have every right to choose your own path, Isadora. Society may dictate what is expected, but it cannot dictate your desires. A fierce determination emanated from him, and Isadora felt bolstered by his words, as if she was standing taller in his presence. Yet it seems I am but a pawn in my father's games, she replied, her tone laced with bitterness. Lord Wainwright is but a means to an end for my father. I fear he does not care for my wishes. The Duke's brow furrowed in thought, and Isadora could see the wheels turning in his mind. We must find a way for you to escape this fate. You deserve more than to be bartered like livestock. His voice was firm, and she felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Do you truly believe that, Your Grace? She asked, her voice softening. That I deserve a choice? Every woman deserves a choice, Isadora, he replied, his eyes intense. But it requires bravery to seize it. We must act swiftly before your father solidifies this arrangement. Isadora's heart raced at the prospect of action. For so long she had felt powerless, constrained by obligations beyond her control. What do you suggest? First, we need to gather information on Lord Wainwright, he said, a plan forming in his mind. If you can uncover something that will sway your father's opinion, we may be able to halt the engagement. But how can I do that without arousing suspicion? She asked, anxiety creeping back into her voice. Leave that to me, he assured her, his demeanor shifting to one of quiet confidence. I have connections in society that can help. You will not be alone in this. The warmth of his reassurance filled her with a newfound sense of purpose. And what if my father learns that I have confided in you? He is not a man to be crossed lightly. Your father may be powerful, but he is not invincible, the Duke replied, his eyes narrowing slightly. And if he were to discover that you are unhappy, it could tarnish his reputation. A father who forces his daughter into an unwanted marriage is a man who risks losing respect. Isadora nodded, a spark of rebellion igniting within her. Then it is settled. I shall find a way to uncover the truth about Lord Wainwright, and you will assist me in navigating the treacherous waters of society. Exactly. Together, we will ensure that your voice is heard, he replied, a flicker of admiration dancing in his eyes. As they crafted their plan, Isadora felt the invisible threads binding her to her father start to unravel. The prospect of freedom was intoxicating, yet a lingering fear gnawed at her insides. What if her father discovered their plot? What if Lord Wainwright proved to be more formidable than they anticipated? Your Grace, she began hesitantly, how can I trust that my efforts will not be in vain? What if my father is relentless? Because I will be there to support you, he said, his words imbued with sincerity. I have fought my own battles against the tide of expectation, and I will not let you face this alone. There is strength in numbers, and together we can challenge the status quo. His unwavering resolve wrapped around her like a protective cloak, and Isadora felt her fears begin to ebb. The Duke was not merely a man of privilege, he was a kindred spirit who understood the weight of obligation. Then I shall give it my all, Your Grace. I will not allow my life to be dictated by another's desires. Good, he said, a smile breaking through his otherwise serious demeanor. We will start at the upcoming soiree. It will be the perfect opportunity to observe Lord Wainwright and gather information discreetly. As the conversation drifted to details, Isadora felt a sense of camaraderie blossoming between them. With each shared thought and strategy, the distance that once separated them narrowed. But even as excitement coursed through her veins, Isadora couldn't shake the feeling of impending danger. Her father would not sit idly by while she sought to alter her fate, and the looming threat of his wrath loomed heavy in the depths of her mind. Before we proceed, the Duke interjected, his tone shifting to one of seriousness. You must promise me something. If at any point you feel threatened or if you sense your father is onto you, you must come to me immediately. Your safety is paramount." "I promise, Your Grace," she vowed, an unspoken bond forming between them. Just then, a noise echoed from the hallway, shattering their moment of connection. Isadora's heart sank as she recognized the familiar sound of her father's voice approaching. The urgency of their time together pressed upon her, and a sense of dread washed over her. "Quickly, Isadora," the Duke urged, glancing toward the door. "You must hide." The tension surged as Isadora moved to obey, her heart racing. The stakes had risen, and she was aware that her journey toward freedom had just begun. Would she have the strength to follow through on her promise? Knowing the peril that lay ahead, a single thought lingered in her mind as she vanished from view. She would not be a pawn any longer. As Isadora's words hung in the air, an uneasy silence enveloped the room. The Duke's expression shifted, and a glimmer of inspiration sparked in his eyes. "We will organize a masquerade ball," he declared decisively, his tone filled with newfound vigor. "Such events provide ample opportunity for intrigue and deception. It will be the perfect setting for you to gather information on Lord Wainwright while cloaked in anonymity." Isadora's heart raced at the prospect. "A masquerade?" she echoed, the idea both exhilarating and terrifying. "But how will that help me?" "A ball is a social gathering where secrets are traded like currency," he explained, his voice steady. "You can mingle with the guests, listen to idle chatter, and observe the dynamics at play. If Wainwright has any skeletons in his closet, they will likely be revealed in whispers behind delicate masks." She nodded slowly, the plan beginning to take shape in her mind. "And your presence? Will you also attend?" "Of course," he replied with a hint of a smile. "I would not allow you to venture into such perilous waters alone. We shall be each other's support, a dual force against the constraints placed upon you." "Then we must act swiftly. My father will not wait long to finalize the engagement," she said, a sense of urgency propelling her forward. "What do we need to do first?" "First, we must find suitable attire for you, something that will allow you to stand out among the crowd while remaining discreet," he suggested, already envisioning the logistics of the event. "I will arrange for a dressmaker to assist us. Then we will discuss the guest list, ensuring that those who may pose a threat to our plan are kept at bay. With the right strategy, we can turn this ball into a pivotal moment for you." Isadora felt the excitement swelling within her, a stark contrast to the dread that had consumed her moments prior. "I cannot believe I am actually considering this," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "But what if my father learns of our intentions?" "He has eyes everywhere." The Duke's demeanor hardened slightly, but his gaze remained steady. "That is a risk I am willing to take for your freedom. Your father may wield power, but he cannot control the truth. If we can unearth something damaging about Wainwright before the engagement is sealed, we will have the upper hand." "But how will I approach this?" she asked, a flicker of doubt creeping into her thoughts. "I cannot simply ask questions without drawing suspicion. Leave that to me," he reassured her, confidence radiating from him. "I will create distractions that will allow you to move through the crowd unnoticed. You will have the chance to speak with others, friends, acquaintances, and piece together the information you need." As they discussed the details, the tension in Isadora's chest began to ease. The Duke's unwavering support, coupled with her growing resolve, gave her the courage to press on. "I will do whatever it takes to escape this fate," she said firmly, determination blazing in her eyes. The Duke nodded approvingly, his respect for her blossoming. "That is the spirit, my lady. We will not only challenge your father's will, but also confront the expectations of society itself. Together, we will rewrite your story." Before they could delve deeper into their plans, a knock on the door interrupted them. A servant entered, bearing a message that caused the Duke's expression to shift. "Your Grace, there is news from your estate. A situation has arisen that requires your immediate attention." Isadora felt a pang of concern. "What is it?" Nothing that should concern you, he replied, his voice calm, yet edged with urgency. But I must attend to it. We will reconvene tomorrow to finalize our plans for the ball. As he stood to leave, Isadora felt a surge of disappointment. Will you be safe? She asked, concern lacing her tone. He paused, his gaze meeting hers with a depth that made her heart flutter. I will be, I assure you. Trust in our plan, Isadora. This is merely a temporary setback. With that, he exited the office, leaving Isadora alone in the quietude, her thoughts racing. She had taken a monumental step towards her liberation, yet uncertainty loomed. What if the Duke's absence left her vulnerable? What if her father sensed her defiance? The burgeoning sense of agency within her battled against the familiar chains of fear. With a newfound resolve, she decided to prepare for the masquerade. She envisioned herself amidst the swirling gowns and twinkling chandeliers, moving elegantly through the throng of guests. Every time she thought of the ball, a thrill coursed through her veins, a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. As she went about her evening, Isadora found herself lost in thoughts of the Duke. His confidence had sparked something within her, igniting a desire to take control of her own destiny. She felt a connection with him that transcended their shared mission, a bond tethered by their mutual understanding of the burdens they carried. The following morning, Isadora set out to the dressmaker, her heart light with hope. Every step she took was a step away from her father's oppressive grasp and closer to a future of her own making. The bustling streets of London, usually a source of anxiety, now felt alive with possibility. Upon entering the dressmaker's shop, she was welcomed with open arms. "Lady Isadora, what a pleasure to see you," the proprietor exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "What brings you here today?" "I need a dress for a masquerade ball," Isadora replied, a smile breaking across her face. "Something that will make a statement and allow me to move freely among the guests." "Ah, I have just the thing in mind," the dressmaker said, already gesturing toward a selection of luxurious fabrics. Isadora felt giddy with anticipation as she examined the materials, each more exquisite than the last. As the fitting commenced, Isadora's mind remained focused on the task ahead. She was no longer the passive daughter of a powerful man. She was a woman determined to reclaim her narrative. And with the Duke by her side, she felt a flicker of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, she could forge her own path amidst the chaos of her father's ambitions. And if this story resonates with your heart, consider sharing it with someone who appreciates tales of courage and defiance. Turn on notifications so you never miss our next chapter and witness Isadora's journey unfold. As the evening sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the grand ballroom, Isadora stood before the ornate mirror, a flurry of emotions swirling within her. The dressmaker had fulfilled her promise, crafting a gown that clung to her figure with delicate finesse, adorned with shimmering beads that sparkled like stars. The fabric felt cool against her skin, but the anticipation ignited a warmth that coursed through her veins. Tonight was the night. She would step into a world of masks and whispers, where she could hide amidst the throng and seek the truth about Lord Wainwright. As she adjusted the intricate mask that adorned her face, a soft knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "Lady Isadora!" It was the Duke's voice, smooth and reassuring. "Come in," she replied, her heart fluttering at the thought of seeing him. The Duke entered, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that accentuated his tall stature. He approached with an air of confidence, his eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that momentarily stole her breath away. "You look magnificent," he said, his voice low and filled with admiration. "Thank you, Your Grace," she replied, her cheeks warming under his gaze. "I'm still scared about tonight. What if we fail?" "Failure is not an option," he assured her, taking a step closer. "We will navigate the evening together. Just remember, the dance floor is not merely for show. It is a stage upon which we can play our parts." His words both soothed and invigorated her. With newfound determination, she nodded. Then let us not waste any more time. As they descended the grand staircase into the main ballroom, the sounds of lively music and laughter enveloped them. Guests adorned in extravagant costumes filled the space, masks hiding identities, yet revealing the true nature of their intentions. Isadora's heart raced, excitement mingling with trepidation as they stepped into the vibrant scene. They glided through the crowd, exchanging pleasantries with acquaintances and strangers alike, their laughter mingling with the symphony of the evening. The Duke's charisma drew people in, and Isadora found comfort in his presence, feeling anchored amid the swirling chaos. As the first dance beckoned, the Duke extended his hand, leading her to the center of the floor. "May I have this dance, my lady?" With a nod, she placed her hand in his, feeling the warmth of his touch. They moved in sync, the world around them fading as they became lost in the rhythm of the music. In this moment, the weight of her father's expectations and the looming threat of Wainwright dissipated. "Isadora," the Duke said softly, his voice barely audible above the music, "there is something I must share with you." "What is it?" she asked, her heart racing not only from the dance, but from the curiosity that piqued within her. He took a breath, his gaze steady as he led her through a series of intricate steps. "You see, beneath the surface of my title and the facade of privilege, I carry my own burdens. My family has expectations that often confine me, much like your own." His admission surprised her. "I had no idea," she whispered. "You always seem so composed." "Composure is a mask I wear well," he confessed, a hint of vulnerability breaking through. "But there are moments when I wish to break free from it all, to live authentically, as you are trying to do." The weight of his words struck her deeply. They shared a bond forged in their mutual struggles against societal pressures, each seeking liberation in a world that demanded conformity. Their dance continued, the music enveloping them like a cocoon. As Isadora looked into his eyes, she could see the flicker of determination reflected back. "Together, we will find our freedom," she declared, emboldened by their shared understanding. But as the music swelled, a commotion in the corner of the ballroom caught her attention. A figure emerged, striding confidently through the crowd, Lord Wainwright. Dressed in a finely tailored coat, he exuded an air of superiority, his gaze scanning the room until it locked onto Isadora. Her heart sank. "He's here," she murmured, anxiety twisting within her. "Stay close," the Duke urged, his grip tightening around her waist. "We will not let him disrupt our plans." As Wainwright approached, Isadora's pulse quickened. The Duke's presence fortified her, a shield against the impending confrontation. "Lady Isadora," Wainwright began, his smile predatory. "What a delightful surprise to see you here, so breathtakingly adorned." "Good evening, Lord Wainwright," she replied, her voice steady despite the dread pooling in her stomach. He leaned closer, his tone dripping with insincerity. "Have you given any further thought to our arrangement? I would hate for you to miss such a grand opportunity." Isadora felt the Duke tense beside her, an unspoken warning radiating between them. "Opportunities come in many forms, my lord," she replied, meeting his gaze with newfound courage. "Some are simply not worth pursuing." Wainwright's expression darkened, the mask of charm slipping for just a moment. "I assure you, you would not want to make an enemy of me," he retorted, his voice low. Before she could respond, the Duke stepped forward, his demeanor calm yet commanding. "Isadora has made her intentions clear, Lord Wainwright. I suggest you respect her wishes." The tension in the air was palpable, an electric charge that threatened to explode. The circle of guests around them grew silent, their attention fixed on the unfolding drama. With a fleeting glance at Isadora, Wainwright smirked, his bravado returning. "Very well. Enjoy your evening, but do remember, every masquerade reveals the truth in the end." As he turned to leave, Isadora felt a shiver run down her spine. What does he mean by that? she whispered, anxiety flooding her thoughts. The Duke's expression hardened, determination flooding his features. It means we must be vigilant. This is far from over. Their dance had shifted from one of intimacy to a battlefield of wills, but in that moment, Isadora knew they were united in purpose. As the music resumed, she took a deep breath, resolved to face the chaos together. Tonight would forge their destinies, and she would not shy away from the challenges ahead. With the Duke by her side, she felt emboldened to confront whatever secrets lay hidden beneath the masks. Together, they would reclaim their stories and rewrite the ending. As the vibrant music filled the grand ballroom, Isadora felt the pulse of excitement in the air shift dramatically. The moment she spotted Lord Wainwright striding confidently through the crowd, a cold shiver of dread coiled in her stomach. She exchanged a glance with the Duke, whose expression hardened with resolve as he caught sight of the man who had long haunted her dreams, both as a potential savior and a lurking shadow. "Stay close to me," he murmured, his voice laced with an urgency that sent a thrill through her. They glided deeper into the throng, the Duke's hand gentle yet firm on the small of her back, guiding her through the sea of masked revelers. Isadora could feel the tension mounting as Wainwright drew nearer, his presence like a storm cloud threatening to break. The music shifted into a slow waltz, and the dancers around them twirled with grace, oblivious to the impending confrontation. Isadora's heart raced as she spotted her father, Lord Pelham, across the ballroom. He stood with a group of prominent guests, his demeanor unyielding, but she could see the flicker of irritation in his eyes as Wainwright approached. "Your Grace," Wainwright greeted with an insincere smile, his charming facade masking the menace beneath. "How splendid it is to see you here, enjoying the evening with our beautiful Lady Isadora." Isadora's stomach churned at his words, her pulse quickening as she felt the Duke tense beside her. "Lord Wainwright," the Duke replied, his voice smooth but edged with underlying tension, "I believe you're interrupting a moment of reflection." With a slight tilt of his head, Wainwright laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. "Reflection? Or perhaps rehearsing for a future together, A union that, I assure you, is predestined." The underlying threat in his tone was unmistakable, and Isadora clenched her fists at her sides, the urge to defend her choices bubbling inside her. "Enough," Isadora interjected, surprising herself with the strength of her voice. "You do not dictate my future, Lord Wainwright. You may have played your games, but I am no longer the pawn you seek to manipulate." The ballroom seemed to hold its breath, the laughter and music fading into a distant murmur as her words hung in the air. The Duke's gaze shifted to her, pride glimmering in his eyes, and in that moment, she felt the weight of her father's expectations and Wainwright's threats dissolve like mist before the sun. "Isadora," her father's voice cut through the tension, sharp as glass. "You dare speak to him that way?" His face was a mask of shock and fury, and she could feel the room shift as murmurs rippled among the guests, eyes darting their way. "Father, it is time you understood that I have the right to choose my own path," she declared, her voice unwavering. "I refuse to be a mere pawn in your ambitions or his vile schemes." The courage she felt surged within her, driving back the shadows of doubt. Lord Pelham's face twisted with disbelief, and for a moment he seemed at a loss for words. "This is not a decision for a girl to make. You do not comprehend the consequences." "Then let me learn," Isadora shot back, her heart racing with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. "I will not live my life under a cloak of obligation, bound by your wishes. I want to find my own truth, and I will do so with or without your approval." The Duke stepped forward, his presence a protective shield against her father's fury. "As her choice is her own, so too is her right to seek the truth. It is time for both of you to recognize that Isadora is not a child to be dictated to, but a woman of her own making." Wainwright scoffed, but his bravado faltered under the intensity of the confrontation. A woman of her own making? How quaint. You think you can defy the ages-old expectations of our society? His derisive tone stirred anger within Isadora. Yes, I do, she declared, steadying herself with the strength she drew from the Duke's unwavering support. I refuse to be a mere reflection of your desires. I will forge my own destiny. The weight of her words rippled throughout the room, and for the first time, she saw uncertainty flicker in her father's eyes. Isadora, her father began again, but this time he faltered. The eyes of the ballroom guests were upon them, and their whispers encircled him like a noose. This is not the way to— It is the only way, she interrupted, her voice resolute. You must understand that I will not be coerced into a life dictated by fear and obligation. I am more than a bargaining chip in your games. The standoff hung palpable in the air, and for a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then the Duke's hand found hers, a silent promise of solidarity. Isadora is right, he stated, his gaze sweeping over the audience. If we do not have the courage to choose our own fates, we shall forever live in the shadows of others' ambitions. Silence fell, heavy and profound, as the words settled. One by one, the guests began to nod approvingly, and the tension in the room began to shift. Wainwright's facade of confidence cracked, revealing the insecurity that lay beneath. Let's see how this plays out, he muttered, backing away into the crowd. Isadora felt the air shift, her heart racing, not just from the confrontation, but from the realization of her own power. As laughter and music returned, she turned to the Duke, whose eyes shone with admiration. You were incredible, he said, lifting her hand to his lips, a moment of intimacy amidst the chaos. You found your voice. And it's only just the beginning, she replied, her heart swelling with a sense of freedom. They stood together, the ball swirling around them, ready to face whatever might come next. In the depths of her heart, she knew their paths were intertwined, each step forward leading them closer to the truth they sought together, an uncharted future. Ripe with possibility, as Isadora stood her ground against Lord Wainwright, the ballroom seemed to shrink around her, the air thick with tension. The music faded into a distant hum, and all eyes were upon her. She felt the weight of expectations pressing down, but the warmth radiating from the Duke beside her anchored her. He was her steadfast ally, a silent promise that they would face the storm together. Isadora, her father's voice broke through the silence, sharp and commanding. You will regret this insolence. No, father, she replied, her voice steady, the tremor of fear replaced by determination. I will not live in regret any longer. My life is my own to shape. Wainwright's laughter echoed through the ballroom, a cruel sound that grated against the hope swelling within her. Such fire! But do you truly believe you can escape your father's grasp, or mine? His gaze flickered between them, calculating, seeking weakness. The Duke stepped forward, his posture radiating authority and strength. Isadora is not a pawn for you to manipulate. She is a woman who knows her worth. Worth? Wainwright's voice dripped with disdain. What worth do you speak of when society has already deemed her a lesser being? She is nothing without the approval of her father and the alliance I offer. The murmurs of the guests intensified, their curiosity piqued by the unfolding drama. Isadora's heart raced, but she refused to falter. I am not defined by others' expectations, nor will I be bound by a contract that serves only to satisfy your ambitions. The Duke's eyes met hers, a silent encouragement that filled her with strength. Together we will forge a new path, he declared, his voice resonating with conviction, one where love and choice reign over obligation and control. Love? Wainwright scoffed, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. You think love will shield you from the consequences of defiance. You will find yourself alone, Isadora, abandoned by all who matter. In that moment, Isadora felt the truth of her father's expectations and Wainwright's threats, but she also felt something new: freedom. "If that is the price of my independence, then I am ready to pay it," she stated firmly. "I refuse to be a prisoner in my own life." Her father's expression darkened, fury etched into his features. "You are a foolish girl who knows nothing of the world. You will regret this day." "I will not regret choosing my own future," she shot back, her voice unwavering. "I will not be defined by your choices, or by the games of men like Wainwright." The Duke moved closer, his presence a shield against the hostility radiating from her father and Wainwright. "If you wish to continue this charade, Lord Wainwright, know that it will not end in your favor. Isadora's strength is her own, and she will not stand idle while you attempt to conquer her spirit." A flicker of apprehension crossed Wainwright's face as he glanced at the crowd, sensing the shift in power. "You think you can stand against me? The society will never accept your union. You will be the talk of scandal and disgrace." "Then let them talk," Isadora declared, pride swelling in her chest. "Let them see that a woman can choose her own fate, regardless of the whispers of society." With newfound resolve, she took the Duke's hand, intertwining their fingers. It was a simple gesture, yet it spoke volumes: solidarity, partnership, and an unyielding commitment to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Lord Pelham's voice cut through the air again, but this time it lacked its usual authority. "Isadora, you are making a grave mistake." "No, father," she replied, her heart steady. "The grave mistake was allowing fear to dictate my life for so long. I have found my voice, and I intend to use it." As she stood before her father, she felt the weight of years of expectations lift. The ballroom, once a place of dread, now felt like a haven of possibility. The music swelled again, a triumphant melody that echoed her newfound freedom. Wainwright, sensing the tide turning, stepped back, his bravado faltering. "This is not over," he muttered, retreating into the crowd, his confidence shaken. As he disappeared from view, Isadora felt a rush of exhilaration. She had faced her fears and emerged stronger, not only for herself, but for the Duke standing beside her. The guests around them began to murmur, but their words were different now: admiration, support, and a hint of rebellion against the status quo. "Isadora," the Duke said softly, his gaze locked onto hers, "you are remarkable. Together, we can redefine the boundaries set before us." A smile broke across her face, a genuine expression of joy and relief. "Yes, together, we will face whatever comes our way, hand in hand." As the music played on, Isadora felt hope blossom within her. The future, once cloaked in uncertainty, now shimmered with promise. They would forge a new path, one that honored their love and the choices they made together. In that moment, surrounded by the vibrant colors of the ballroom and the warmth of the Duke's hand in hers, Isadora knew she had claimed her independence. The journey ahead would not be easy, but with love as her guide, she was ready to embrace it all. As the last notes of the waltz faded, she whispered to the Duke, "Let us dance into our future." And so they did, stepping boldly into the unknown, ready to rewrite the narrative of their lives together.